This is a shocker. We've received a tip-off about the triple murderer Reginald Arthurell. This sick bastard killed his stepfather with a carving knife. He robbed and killed a teenager, and he murdered his own fiancée with a piece of wood. He was released in 2020 after a 24-year jail sentence. Now, we warned at the time he should never have been let out. And sure enough, about a year after he was let out, we were contacted by a member of the trans community to say that they had been asked by corrective services to assist with Reginald Arthurell's transition into life in the real world. And Reginald, by the way, had now become Regina. Now, we've been contacted by a woman in Sydney. We're going to call her Tina. She says, I need help. My mother is living with the serial killer, Reginald Arthurell. He's brainwashed my mum into going into business with him and using her superannuation in a matter of weeks. We've asked police why nobody has done any checks, but they're yet to give us an answer. Tina is on the line right now.
Hi.
So this is your mother who's got Arthurell living with her?
That's correct.
How did this happen?
Well, this is what I would also like to know. So this information about Reginald Arthurell came to my attention from my mother probably in about October, September last year. She told me that Reginald owned a saddlery business and was in business with Dwight Yoakam, the country and western singer from America.
Mm.
So she told me that he made clothing and he was a client at the hospital in where she worked. Then in probably November, I heard through other family members that this Reginald was apparently moving in with my mother. And when I asked my mother who this person was, it was the same information, you know, he's a millionaire, he previously lived in America, had been working in the Navy, previously owned a saddlery business before in Glen Annis, New South Wales.
Well, let's back up just a moment because I just want to establish how your mother met Reginald Arthurell. It happened in Westmead Hospital?
I believe so.
And your mum works there?
She previously worked there.
And Arthurell was a patient?
I believe he was.
And after that, at some stage, your mother has allowed Arthurell to move into her home?
Yes.
And your mum isn't home alone. She also has two kids living in the home.
Yes, correct. So on the 11th of February, information came to me from one of my siblings and it was a text message and it said, please do a Google search on this person. So I did a Google search on this person and all of this information came to me about Regina Arthurell, who also identifies as Regina. And all of those things started sounding alarm bells or from the information that I'd heard in conversation from my mother to say that Reginald was now identifying as a woman, Regina, and it was a cross-dresser dressed in women's clothing and whatnot. Now, the information that I found on Google told me that he was a serial killer and one of his victims was actually a Quinn lady from Coonabarabran who actually happens to be related to my mother. My great-grandmother is a Quinn and my mother was born in Coonabarabran.
You're telling me that your mum is related to one of the victims?
I believe so.
So, hang on a moment. Did Reginald/Regina Arthurell tell your mum that he once killed his stepfather with a carving knife?
I do not know any of this information. I don't know what Reginald has disclosed or Regina, whatever they like to call themselves. I don't know what information has been disclosed. I don't know what balances and checks have been done in regards of New South Wales Health allowing this person to reside with my mother. As I said, my mother has worked in the New South Wales health system since she's been 16 years old. So she's worked in the health system for nearly 48 years.
I'm going to take a punt that Arthurell did not tell anyone about killing his stepfather with the carving knife, about robbing and killing a teenager, about murdering his own fiancée with a piece of wood and then photographing himself wearing one of her dresses. And when you say you don't know whether New South Wales Health knew about this, we're guessing that your mum made this call to invite Arthurell to come over and stay at her place on her own will. She wasn't consulting the hospital or anything about it, presumably.
And that's what I said. Look, I understand if she has made that choice on her own, but also in that regards, if this person is supposed to be under community correction orders where they're supposed to be supervised in the community, what are the details of those orders and who is actually making sure that those orders are being followed? Because from what I know, the person is currently residing in a house with an elderly lady who's currently vulnerable and is within 100 metres of 2 public schools.
Holy hell.
I've been in contact with the New South Wales Police and New South Wales Department of Corrective Services since the 12th of February about these issues. My last encounter was with Parramatta Corrective Services Tuesday just gone, when I questioned them about who is the department in New South Wales who currently looks after these people and goes and makes sure, that they're adhering to all of their orders. They hung up on me.
Let me ask you about your call to police. What happened when you called Blacktown Police?
I've called Blacktown Police on more than several occasions since the 12th of February. So on the 11th of February, my brother went over to my mother's residence and said what his concerns were about her residing with this person. The police were called. The police attended the residence of my mother's and removed my brother, took him to Blacktown Police Station, held him in custody over there for 6 hours, released him and gave him a court attendance notice to attend court next month.
And you've told the system, if we can call it that, and that encompasses corrections and police and health and everything else, that there are children living in this home with an elderly woman and a serial killer has moved in and you want them out.
Exactly. I've also asked the police and community corrections if they have made a mandatory report regarding the information that I have been providing them.
You say in a note to us he's been brainwashing my mother in going into business with him and using her superannuation.
Yes, well, my mother is about to receive her superannuation in coming weeks, so she has recently retired, and she is under the pretense that she is going into a saddlery business with this person as they are awaiting for their mother's estate to be settled.
And what, has your mum become fond of Regina/Reginald or something like that? Why is she allowing Arthurell to stay in her home?
I do not know any of this information. I have asked her, my family members have asked her, we've questioned her several times, and she just seems to be of the thing that she doesn't care what we say. She is under the thing that this person has changed. As I said, look, Mum, they could have been rehabilitated. The person is still a vulnerable person and cannot be around vulnerable people.
There are teenagers living in the home.
Exactly.
We will do everything we can to get this sorted straight away. Reginald Arthurell needs to be removed from that home immediately. So you leave it with us and we'll have an update as soon as we can. Can you believe that? Imagine that was your mum. This is what the parole authority is now telling us. Reginald Arthurell is not on parole. He's completed his sentence, and once a sentence is completed, the parole order is over. As far as we're aware, Reginald remains on an extended supervision order, and that is under Corrective Services. We've contacted Corrective Services. They say they're looking into this as a priority. And police have contacted 2GB Breakfast wanting to know the address of where Reginald Arthurell is currently living. Joining us on the line, the victim's advocate, Howard Brown.
G'day, Ben. How are you?
I'm trying to work out what the hell is going on here.
Well, someone at Community Corrections has stuffed up big time, mate, because there is no way in the world that Arthurell, I can confirm he's no longer on parole. He is the subject of an extended supervision order. But as part of the terms of that extended supervision order, he's not allowed to be with children under the age of 16 unsupervised. He's not supposed to be living within close proximity to schools. And there's 2 straight breaches that we can see, apparently right now.
Yeah, there are teenagers living in the home. You've got Arthurell living there as well. The woman's son has gone there to try and remove him, but the mum has said, "Oh no, I'm helping him/her out," because she now calls herself Regina. I mean, we did warn when all of this unfolded years ago, when the release was happening, that this was going to cause trouble.
Oh, look, and this case is one of those questions about the too hard basket. Community Corrections are desperate to place him somewhere, and they're doing so without full exposure to the potential victim here. Because of a prisoner or a person on an extended supervision order has privacy rights, they don't fully disclose to that poor woman exactly what he is. And I mean, not only is he a serial killer, but he also is a serial liar, and someone from Community Corrections needs to revoke that address and bring him back into custody for failing to comply with the extended supervision order.
And this is not the first time this has happened. Years ago, we exposed the fact that Arthurell had been dumped in a nursing home and the other residents hadn't been told they were sharing the space with a serial killer.
Yeah, that's why I refer to him, or her, or whatever you want to call it, as in the too hard basket, because unfortunately, the original sentence that Arthurell received was totally inadequate. And as far as I'm concerned, he should never have been granted an extended supervision order. He should have always been placed on a continuing detention order because he cannot adapt to community life and he's putting the community at risk.
We appreciate your time as always, Howard, and your advocacy on behalf of so many victims and their families. Thank you so much.